Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is a video that, as you can already see by the title, I never expected I would ever have to make after last season. It's a video that was so far away from being a reality that it would almost seem like a nightmare, and after last night you could say it's a nightmare. A terrible result for Celtic, a terrible result for Neil Lennon, and some calling for the head of the Celtic manager. I'm going to give my opinion in this video to the cries of, sack Lennon, get rid of him, make a change. I'm going to give my reaction to that, and also the news that Neil Lennon broke that some players don't want to be at the club. Who are the players? Why do they want to leave? Don't know, but we'll talk about it all in this video. Horrible wake up this morning with that toxic feeling in it. Last night, the defeat to Ferencvaros was just, it was the last thing we needed after what has been an average start to the season. A draw to Kilmarnock, narrowly beating Dundee United, then get knocked out of Champions League. It was just the last thing that had to be added into that list. And, Neil Lennon, completely and utterly responsible for the loss last night. You can't expect to go and beat the champions of another nation in a one-tie affair when you're playing an attacking midfielder up front. You're not playing a striker. When you've got £8 million worth of strikers on the bench, there are questions to be asked of the manager, and Neil Lennon shouldn't be shying away from that. We've seen him blame some of the players. He has took some of the blame upon himself, but it's totally inexcusable. Last night the tactics were all over the place. We waited 77 minutes to make a change. I've spoke about it all in the 3 things we learned video, so if you want to know my complete opinion on the match itself, then head over to last night's video. The views have been rather good in that, and I can understand why, but it was just a horrid game, and it makes you think, would the conversation right now be completely different if Justin Cham's shot didn't hit the bar? If we did put away one of our chances, yes, it would. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about why Neil Lennon shouldn't be Celtic boss and all the rest of it, but we'll get on to that anyway. Of course, Neil Lennon coming under a lot of heat, and let me just say right away, my opinion isn't that Neil Lennon should be sacked as Celtic manager, but there's a question around how much patience we actually can have if this is going to be the situation all season. The comment section on my video last night was absolutely mental. I swear there wasn't one comment that didn't say, let's back Neil Lennon. Everything was towards the side of get Lennon out of the club. He doesn't know what he's doing, he's incompetent, and he's not fit to be manager. I swear, it was only a few months ago that, we're praising this man. He was the king of Glasgow. We were posting the videos of Live It Up, but it just goes to show you how things can change when you're the manager of a club the size of Celtic and you've got fans that is passionate of Celtic. It's crazy, and there is logic behind what people are saying. Now, I personally don't think it's quite panic stations yet in terms of sack the manager. I think we've still got a bit to go till that comes. This is the biggest season in Celtic's history. Missing out in Europe is horrendous. But to sack the manager at this point of the season, I don't know. I feel like that would be... I feel like people have just took it a little bit too far. I think we're overreacting slightly. Last night was shambolic, and Neil Lennon is completely to blame. But he needs to learn from that. I believe if he learns from that, we'll come out stronger. Last season, we were knocked out of Europe by Cluj. Dunfermline nearly popped us out the League Cup. We didn't start the league season all that well either. And there was questions around Neil Lennon then. And then we went on to finish top of a Europa League group. We went on to win the League Cup. We went on to win the league as well. And we still could win a treble for that season. And that was all under Neil Lennon after the disastrous start we had last year. Now, I'm not wanting to come across in this video as someone who's going to back Neil Lennon to the death and saying that you're all wrong. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. Some people don't like Neil Lennon. I certainly wasn't a fan of the appointment of Neil Lennon when it was first announced over a year ago. But look, last season was so similar. And we shouldn't be going out this early of the competition. We shouldn't. It's inexcusable, as I've already said. But give it till, give it a few more games. We've got a massive win against Motherwell this weekend. It's patience that's going to be the deciding factor for me. Last night I was extremely annoyed at Lennon. I'm not going to hide that. As much as I'm coming out and saying I don't want Lennon to be sacked right now, I honestly think there is just this sort of reaction that Celtic fans always get when something doesn't go as expected. And I said it in my video, there was no way for Celtic to go into that game feeling entitled to win. Our team is at best without Edouard bang average, and we never had Edouard last night. And Ferencvaros, can't even say their name now because I'm Camden. Ferencvaros are a good side. There was nothing there that suggested that we should be going and beat them 3-4-0, but yet there's still Celtic fans who have that expectation. We should be. Of course, we should be winning at Celtic Park in that round of the competition, right? But there's no entitlement for it. It's not guaranteed to happen. Things will go wrong. But when things don't go our way, I feel like there is always this kind of mass outburst of fans, you know, getting right to the panic stations and getting as negative as possible. Look, keep the positivity for now. We're only 3 games played in the league season. We've got to play catch up. It's massive. I don't want to sit here and pretend everything's okay. It's not. It's not. Simple fact is, the club right now is in a very toxic place. We've seen what Neil Lennon said in his press conference last night. We've still to sign players. The board need to get up and spend money. And, you know, we're looking at our star player leaving to Aston Villa perhaps, or anywhere else in England, with no suitable replacement, because it seems Neil Lennon doesn't trust Patrick Kamala first of all, and we still don't know quite what to expect from Albion Ayeti. I know he got a goal at the weekend, but this could be massive. This is the biggest season. So it's not me sitting here saying that everything's okay, but I think that we're a bit premature to jump to the gun and say Neil Lennon's not the man for the job. He's delivered perhaps a treble last season, and I don't know. It's just, I can completely understand where people are coming from, but I just think we're rushing right into it. What if we did sack Lennon now? Who realistically is going to come in? Because there's people saying as well, get rid of Kennedy. I don't understand that logic at all. Have you heard how highly John Kennedy spoke of? I seen a tweet last night and I could only just shake my head and facepalm as hard as possible when I said Kennedy's dead wood, been at a club too long, done nothing. The guy has spoke so highly of. People love him, the players love him. He knows Celtic inside out. For me, he's the next manager of the club. If Neil Lennon goes, he won't be, because I don't think that's how the system will work. So who realistically comes in right now at this stage to replace Neil Lennon? That's a big process we've got to go through when the league season has just started. I don't know, I feel like people are just taking it a wee bit too far for now. I can already tell there's going to be so many people disagreeing with me in the comments, and it's everybody's entitled to their opinion. I once again, can I just make abundantly clear, I'm not sitting here and saying everything's okay under Lennon, let's give him all the faith in the world, we'll be fine. No, that's not the case. Lennon needs to make changes in these next few games. There's got to be a change in the system, there's got to be a change of personnel on the field. You know, he's got to drop dead wood. We need to play players who are going to be playing their best, not players who are there but for sentimental value. Lennon has to make those changes, and if Lennon doesn't make those changes, trust me, I will turn very soon too, because it's stubbornness that's keeping us back right now. There's players in that starting 11 that should not be there, and there's a system being used that should not be used, because we've seen it from the first few games of the season. So Lennon has got time to change this. He done it last year. He changed it. We had that terrible start to the season and he changed it, and we went fine. Fantastic season, one of the most memorable in our history, and I loved last season until it was called to a stop. He can do it again this year, but he needs to do it soon. Either that, there will be patience from other fans just going completely, and then the faith just goes, drops like that. So John Hartson came out on Twitter last night and said, the negativity on here is shocking. You would think Celtic were chasing leagues and cups. Lennon was the best thing since sliced bread when he brought home the title after a training camp in Dubai. Tell me a manager that don't get selections wrong at times. Back our manager. And yeah, I can understand where he's coming from. Managers do get team selections wrong, but a game of that magnitude, can it be excused? And a lot of people, you know, critiquing John Hartson because him and Neil Lennon, of course, close friends, played together, big Celtic heroes, the two of them. But you know, a lot of people saying you've got to be realistic in this. You've got to criticise him. You can't just come out and back him because he's your pal. But he's got a point. The people, you know, giving him backlash have also got a point. It's a really confusing time. It's a very toxic feeling right now in social media surrounding the club and Celtic to make changes. Of course, David Turnbull signed this morning, using that to maybe try and put... No, it's not working. There's just a very toxic atmosphere right now. So finally, the last part of the video, the players who want to leave the club. Neil Lennon said that for the last, 6-7 months, there are players who have made it abundantly clear they don't want to be at Celtic. And it's been bugging them. And this is the first we're hearing of it. What I would like to know is, who are these players? I mean, I could take a pretty good guess at some of the players it could be. In my head, I've got your Christopher Ayers, I've got your Olivier Chams, perhaps even Odsonne Edouard, because I've seen no sign of a new contract. And there are probably other players surrounding the, bit part players who probably want to leave the club as well. But it's madness to me. And you can't blame some of them. If we're not making Champions League football, if Neil Lennon isn't playing a system that is so clear to play, there's players there that should be on that park. Olivier Cham, the prime example, he must be sitting there with his benched and going, why? He must be so baffled, and it's understandable why they want to leave. And I guess that is another big factor as to people saying Neil Lennon's not cut out for the job, because things like this are happening. If he was cut out for the job, players wouldn't be, wanting to leave. But what can you do? These players should be named. We should know what situation we're in, because ultimately we've got to the 5th of October, which is quite deep into the league season and not far from the first derby of the season, where players could leave and join. And if players want to leave, get it done. If they don't want to be at the club, they should go. And I don't mean that from the aspect of, if you don't want to play for Celtic, get out. I mean that for the best of their career and for the best of us moving on. If we want to field these players and they're not going to put 100% in because of reasons that may actually be understandable, then we're wasting our time on them. There's no point in them being in the park. It's just holding us back. So it's a very confusing time. I don't know where this all came from. It's just, this was the worst result we could have got last night, and that made it 10 times worse hearing that. An absolute stinker of a statement for Neil Lennon to come out with. And where do we go from here now? Until we know these players, it's not as if I can sit here and say how much trouble we're in, because it could be Edouard, it might not be Edouard. There's no point in me saying that I think it is, because that means nothing. But you can take a pretty good guess at who these players can be. There is time for Lennon to turn this around. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time to get these players' heads turned as well. We're on the brink of something huge. And, of course, the foreign players might not care about that as much as, say, the boys like McGregor and Brown and, players who've grown up knowing what Celtic is and Celtic fans. Of course, Edouard probably doesn't give a toss about 10 their own. Why should he? But there's time for Lennon to change these results. Give players the time they deserve in the park. Change the system to play some entertaining football. Get the positivity back up. And then these players might turn around and say, do you know what? I'm happy to stay here for one more year. I'm happy to be here for 10 in a row. But under the conditions of last night, that's never going to happen. So Lennon's got to take a big look at himself. There's nothing. We can't do much for the players in the park. It's not like the players in the park have let them down. Lennon's letting us down at the minute. He's got to take a look at himself and go, right, if I want to keep my job, first of all, if I want to keep the fans happy and I want to keep my players happy, I've got to make changes. And being stubborn by playing one striker up top every week is not going to be the start of it. Motherwell is huge at the weekend. Let's not forget that. We're back at Celtic Park in the league. We need to make a statement. If we don't win by more than 3 goals, I don't think people are 3 or more goals, I don't think people are going to be happy. And that might sound ridiculous to say, and I'm not saying I won't be happy, but there'll be a lot of fans who'll be on right back on the top of Neil Lennon. And that's just the truth of it all. So, very weird times, very toxic time after last night's result, and I hope it all gets resolved. I hope the board continue to spend money. We get Turnbull today, let's bring in more. And Neil, wake up, listen. There's surely something in the back of your head that's telling you to hurry up and move, because it cannot be as one-dimensional as you're making it out on the park right now. Because it seems like we've got nothing else but the same thing every week. And we've got players there. Read Paddy Kamala. He's been here, 8 months? 8 months he's been at the club. And he's played a handful of games. He's done everything he can, it looks. It looked impressive in pre-season. What else does he have to do? Surely you understand this. There's no room for sentiment now. That's all I've got to say. It's weird. It's a really weird time. I feel like it's a very controversial video. Anyway, if you enjoy it, like and subscribe. I'll see you all next time.